A potential 80s rock tour falls apart. Kiss heading to Las Vegas next year. Genesis, are they really back? All coming up here on the Music Mania podcast.
This is Glenn Hughes, the voice of rock.
Hey everybody, this is Pat Torpey from Mr. Big.
And you're listening to Music Mania.
Good evening! Welcome to our show!
I want you to want me. The Dream Police. Da-na-na-na-na-na-na. Your mama's alright, your daddy's alright, but just seem a little bit weak.
Scream for me, Brazil! Scream for me, Brazil!
So let's rock and roll all night, the party every day!
In the words of AC/DC, we roll tonight to the guitar bite. And for those about to rock, I salute you.
You are now listening to the Music Mania podcast, brought to you by CD Warehouse in Gladstone, the #1 hard rock podcast in the Midwest, featuring hard-hitting interviews with rock's living legends. And now, here's your host, Clint Switzer.
Hello and welcome once again to the Music Mania podcast. We are off and running into the spring and summer months. The calendar has turned to March, which, you know, metaphorically, it just spells the end of doom and gloom, of winter. I know March isn't exactly the pinnacle of weather, especially here in the Midwest where I live. But you know what? It means we're heading closer to going outside, live events. You know, your concert calendar's already filling up. You're planning your summer vacations with your families. That's what it's all about, because summer represents endless freedom. Anything can happen. You can go anywhere. You can actually go outside. You can be at one with nature. You can be at concerts. You can enjoy your friends. You can enjoy a cold beverage outside if you want to. That's what it's all about, and that's what we are looking forward to here on the Music Mania podcast. So many great things coming up for us. I mentioned last week, just got back from Las Vegas covering the Aerosmith Vegas residency, and next week heading to see Kiss in Tulsa. Will it be the last time? Well, I thought possibly so, until the news kind of broke this week that Kiss, the rumors are flying that Kiss may be doing a Vegas residency next year in 2021 prior to their final show, which is believed to be in New York in July. So if they do roll out a Vegas residency, it looks like it may be in January of 2021, so that's possible. But going to go down there and see him, at least in this occasion. You know, David Lee Roth is opening. Very polarizing, of course, because on one hand, you have people that just adore David Lee Roth, love that era of Van Halen, and they hold it as close to their heart as anything in music. I get it. I'm there. I'm a huge Van Halen fan. I have a Van Halen tattoo on my right arm. I was there in 2007 and 12 and 15 when David Lee Roth toured with Van Halen. And, you know, in this situation, is David Lee Roth's voice top notch? No, like he said, it's never been. It's two knobby tires on an unpaved road or whatever it is he said. But, you know, you're there for the experience, to see David Lee Roth open for Kiss. I mean, to hear a night of Van Halen hits and Kiss going out and bringing out songs like Tears Are Falling, War Machine, and Crazy Night, some kind of rarities from the 80s that I'm a fan of. You know what? I'm in. So heading down there, this will be my third time seeing Kiss here on this End of the Road tour. So the dates keep piling up for me, and the summer is going to be tremendous. One tour that I really was looking forward to that looks like it was formulating was Rat and Skid Row and Tom Kiefer from Cinderella. It looked like they were going to be heading out, and there's rumors that may have fallen apart. It was all to be announced. Tom Kiefer basically confirmed it, and it was supposed to happen. Announcement was supposed to happen last week. It never came. And now there's rumors that may have dissolved. You know, when it comes to these kind of things, promoters and trying to book these venues and guarantees all come into play, contracts. So that can easily have been the case, that this just fell apart. But I teased it in the opening that Genesis is back. They are doing, looks like a comeback tour in the UK coming up. So, you know, Phil Collins toured solo here this last year. So I know that the show in Omaha, which is the one that was closest to us, I heard just tremendous things about. And I'm a huge Phil Collins and Genesis fan. So hopefully, if they were able to make this thing work in the UK, they can do a few dates in the US. I know, probably a lot to ask. But that being said, our guest this week, we are really branching out because I'm a huge fan of this band. I'm a huge fan of the band Candlebox. And Kevin Martin's going to be joining us. Actually, since I taped the interview with Kevin, it's been announced that Candlebox are going to be reuniting with original members again as the successful follow-up to Candlebox's breakout platinum-selling debut album. The band's sophomore release, Lucy, had been hailed as a bona fide cult classic thanks to the top 10 hit Simple Lessons and fan favorites like Best Friend and the title track Lucy. And now, 25 years after Lucy's release, the band's original lineup is reuniting for 2 exclusive shows, October 2nd and October 3rd, to celebrate its legacy and 30 years of greatest hits, which is tremendous. We're going to talk to Kevin Martin about the fact that the band did this a year ago. The band actually reunited with all original members a year ago to talk about the debut album. They debuted to play the debut album Candlebox in its entirety. So now they're going to be playing Lucy, which was the follow-up. But we're going to be talking to Kevin Martin about the band's new album, which will not be done with original members, but there is a campaign going on right now. You can go to the band's website, candleboxrocks.com, and you can join the 7th album campaign. Just go in there. You can get a lot of cool stuff if you sign up and like pre-order the album and get in on some of the perks for that. And also the band is going to be starting on tour here this March. They're going to be March 26th in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and then here in Kansas City, March 27th. That's a Friday. I can't wait to check Candlebox out. They're going to be at the Star Pavilion. If you're a Kansas City listener and listen to the show kind of locally where I am, you want to hit that up. It's going to be at Ameristar. A lot of great shows have been popping up at Ameristar. They run the gambit from TLC to Ted Nugent and now Candlebox. Queensryche was there a few months ago. They're really, kind of spanning the realm of musical guests and acts that they're booking there. So very exciting. But yeah, we have a lot to catch up with Kevin Martin about. This interview was taped a few weeks ago when I was like desperately sick. I barely had a voice, but I had several interviews to do that day. I did not want to cancel. I do not like to push them back. So the interview happened with Kevin Martin with my voice in the shape it was in. So apologies for that. But it's a really good interview, really solid interview nonetheless. Before we get to that interview, I always want to urge you guys to check out our new website. The musicmaniapodcast.com website will always be there for archival purposes. It will still update it. But the new website in which all of my brand's entertainment will be, the umbrella is called Ignitro Entertainment. IgnitoEntertainment.com. That's where we are going to be doing, we have our Save My Nostalgia stuff on there, where we do nostalgia interviews, review movies from the 70s and 80s and 90s, as well as TV shows, and we interview actors, and we do reviews on, things like candy, pop culture, Nintendo. We do that, and also we do things like nostalgic pro wrestling from the 80s and 90s. We do, the Music Mania stuff is going to be archived there as well. So be sure to check out that website, IgnitoEntertainment.com, as well as our previous website, musicmaniapodcast.com. It will still be there. It just will not quite be updated as much, but we always urge you to press that subscribe button on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, or Spotify. Any way you choose to take in the podcast, we definitely appreciate that. Before we get to our interview with Kevin Martin, also got to tell you about our sponsor, which is CD Warehouse in Gladstone, Missouri. Guys, for over 23 years, they've been a staple of the Northland. Unfortunately, the party's coming to an end in May. But so guys, go give owner Randy Ringer a visit there at CD Warehouse off Antioch Road, and tell him Music Mania sent you. Guys, they buy, sell, and trade CDs, DVDs, vinyl, and more. You want to talk about an institution somewhere that taught me so much about music, just being in there. I worked there in college. I bought so many albums there and learned the ropes from those wonderful people that work there, and they've done so much as far as keeping the physical medium of music alive. So go give them a visit. They're blowing stuff out, merchandise, memorabilia, CDs, DVDs. They're blowing it all out. So go give them a visit. Tell them Music Mania sent you, and there will be a discount, or it's on us.
Kevin, man, thanks so much for joining us this morning. It's such a pleasure to have you on. Pardon my voice. I'm in Kansas City, and we just sent a team to the Super Bowl yesterday. It's a little crazy here right now, man.
Congratulations.
Oh, yeah. It's been a long time coming. Only 50 years, and I'm only 35. So first one for me. Very exciting, man.
That's good stuff. It was a great game. It was fun to watch it.
Yeah, definitely. And you know what? It's funny because, I try not to bring up, specific cities when it comes to bands, because you guys tour all over the world. You tour all over the country all the time. But Kansas City's always kind of been a Candlebox town. You guys played, I think, the first Rock Fest here with our buddy Johnny Dare back in '93.
Yeah, Yep, that was the first one. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah.
Kansas City's. Well, I grew up in Hutchinson, so like Kansas City for me is kind of like a homecoming of sorts, because I kind of the formative years of my life from the age of 6 till 10, I was in Hutch. So I spent, and I actually lived in Kansas City, Kansas for I think about 6 months when I was 4 years old. So
awesome. Yeah.
A little bit of hometown in me there. Yeah.
Well, awesome. Well, we're going to have you back here in March 27th. You'll be here at the Ameristar Casino. You guys get ready to gear up here in just about a month for a very long tour. You got dates planned from February all the way till July. I mean, this is an exciting time. 2020 is a big year for you guys. This big tour is coming up. I mean, this is huge for you guys. You guys have several dates coming up. This is going to be a big one for you guys, is it not? This is awesome.
Yeah, we're looking at, I think we only have dates announced right now to July, but we're going all the way to December because the new record, I think, comes out in the spring. Or we start releasing songs, I think, from the new record come March, maybe it comes out in June, but, it's also the 25th anniversary of Lucy this year, so we've got some special stuff planned for that come the fall, I don't know if you'd have told me 29 years ago that I would still be doing this with this band called, Candlebox. I don't think I would have believed you, but 29 years later, we're still around, and it just trips me out every time I think about it.
Is it kind of surreal when you think about, whenever a veteran band's been around a while, you've built up so many, over the years, and all of a sudden the anniversaries start hitting, like everybody starts doing their anniversary. You guys did, reunited with the original members a couple years ago for the 25th anniversary of the debut. I mean, is it kind of surreal when these dates start popping up? I mean, it's just got to be surreal and a great feeling to still be here doing this, and at such a high level, man.
Very much so. I mean, it is incredibly surreal, and I think that you hit milestones in your life. 21, 25, 30, 40, and now 50 in age, and it just seems to kind of coincide with I guess the successes of your life. But when it comes to music and a band, most bands don't live past 10 years. I mean, it's we could sit here and talk about bands that have been gone for 10, 15 years now that started out at exactly the same time as Candlebox, and it's it's pretty shocking, but at the same time you pinch yourself and you thank the bands that gave you a career that's lasted now for us 29 years.
Well, you talked about the new album. There's a campaign going on. You can go and pre-order it right now on the website. Just kind of talk about that and how kind of cool this is, because I know you've said before that you're someone that likes to take time in between albums and really delve in and make the best album possible. To be able to have this sort of interaction with the fans where they can come get involved in this thing from the jump. I mean, that's really cool. Just kind of talk about this album, what fans can kind of expect, and what it's been like sort of interacting with them, through this time, and as they've kind of, can go pre-order it and do a lot of different things. You guys are kind of setting up for them. It's really cool.
Yeah, we just, I think years ago, obviously, when we became an independent artist, it kind of made it difficult for us to raise the money to make a record. They're not cheap. This will actually be the last full-length album that Candlebox makes. I think from now on we'll probably just do singles and record a song here and there and release it. Just because of the burden of finding a studio, paying for that studio, paying for the producer, paying for the mixer, paying for the product on your own. It's very expensive. So that's where these kind of fundraiser crowdfunding things come in, and they're pretty amazing. The fact that you've got fans that will help you raise $50,000 to $60,000 to $70,000 to make a record. And then whatever money you don't use in that, you utilize towards the marketing of the album. So it really, every single penny gets spent on that record. And it's great to know that you have people that care that much about you and that want to hear you make music. With this one, I think you're able to. We had people come into the studio when we were recording, play on the record. There were all sorts of really amazing offers. There were a couple of acoustic guitars, electric guitars that were played on the record that was signed by the band. There's video of that. There's authenticity certificates that go with everything. So it's, these are keepsakes that people can take with them, till 20, 30 years down the road when the band is no longer. And they've got these memories of spending time with Candlebox in the studio or something like that. And then now it's, the tour comes up and there's the VIP experiences, which, we're starting to offer, vinyl on other unreleased albums that were not released on vinyl and all sorts of things. So that's going to come with the VIP packages. And, it's really just about, offsetting costs and touring. We're not one of those bands who, makes a ton of money from touring. We're not like a U2 where, if you spend $5,000 to stand in the pit, you don't get to meet the band, but you're down in, the front row. With us, the most you're going to spend is, I think it's $150, and you get to spend 35, 45 minutes with us at sound check watching that, and then we take pictures with us and get your vinyl signed and whatever you bring to the show. And we were doing a thing last year, which was pretty fun. It was drinks with the band. It was like $200. You get to come backstage and drink with us for like an hour. And, and we limited it to 6 people. So it was very, very private. And it was a lot of fun. But we've cut that out because I think we were drinking too much.
I love stuff like that because I feel like now more than ever, the line between band and fans is blurred more than ever. And I think that probably, unfortunately, the financials of the music industry have sort of forced that hand. I mean, just talk about it. You guys have been around now for 29 years, and the recording of the debut versus what you're doing now. Just kind of talk about how the financials and the differences have sort of led you guys in certain ways. I mean, I know it's affected so many bands, but man, when you don't make money off of albums and all that's changed so much, I mean, it really forces you to kind of be creative, doesn't it?
It does. It's an entirely different world. When Candlebox started back in 1991, you still made records to tape. You had to rehearse those songs for weeks and weeks and weeks before you went to the studio to record, because you can only record on tape like 10 times, So that whole thing's different. Touring, you booked a tour for 18 months, and you used as much money from the label as you could to go out on that, on that run to offset those costs, and then you start getting your guarantees from, $250 a night to $1,000, then it's $5,000, then it's 10, then it's 15, then it's 20, and then it's 100, then it's 150. And I think at the height of our career, our guarantees were like $250,000, $300,000 for a concert at the Roseland in New York or something like that. And but that was also back at a time where there weren't 15,000 bands competing for stage a small theater in New York, and you had to find a date that you could squeeze in within the next 6 months. Now there's so much competition. There's so many bands that are touring because they're not selling records, because nobody buys records anymore. The only way we make money is on the road, and through these crowdfunding things. So you have to reach into making yourself accessible to the fans that gave you that career, because there's no other way to survive. And the fans want that experience. They want to be able to, if you will, compare it to like Comic-Con, where, you go and you get to see your favorite superhero that's standing there for, an hour and a half signing their pictures and stuff. It's what you have to do. At first it wasn't easy. I won't lie to you and say that, I love doing it, because it's very challenging sometimes, because you're tired and you want, maybe you want to take a nap, or you need some rest, or your voice is tired, or the band is just kind of, we've been out too long and we really need a break from people. But that being said, you still find the time to do it, because you realize that without them, there really is nothing for you.
That is absolutely well put. And Kevin, it's kind of crazy because I know it's been a couple years now, but I've kind of wanted to ask you about it since it happened. I mean, 2 years ago, you guys were able to reunite with the original members of Candlebox for a couple sold-out shows in Seattle. I know it's been a couple years now. It's kind of had a chance to marinate. What was kind of that like for you personally? And again, you were celebrating the 25th anniversary, and it was awesome for fans. And what was it like for you? And just sort of take us back to that, and what was that like?
Oh, it was a great thrill. The funny thing about Candlebox is we've been best friends for 30 years. The breakup of the band and all that sort of stuff that happened in 99, 2000 was a legal decision on our behalf to get out of our deal with Maverick Records. And then of course when things got back together in 2006, Barty was an attorney, and Scott had a successful business that he had started in that process, and so everybody else had other careers, so it wasn't like we were gonna get back together and be together again for another 10, 15 years as a band. There are obligations that we have outside of Candlebox. So to play those 2 shows in Seattle with Barty and Scott Pete was a real thrill, I think, for all of us. We talk at least once a month, if not more. the guys are, always saying, hey, if you ever want a song or you need me to come and fill in, I've got 2 weeks off here. I'd love to come out and do some shows. So, the camaraderie and the friendship is still there, and that's the thing. But stepping out on stage with those guys was just, it was mind-bending and incredibly joyful. I mean, it really was just a great treat for the four of us.
I'm so glad to hear that. When you look at how much success you guys had early on, and here you are in your 29th year, what does that say about your genre of music, that here we are all these years later, and not only that, but so many bands, I mean, that have had members pass away. You've, thinking about like Stone Temple Pilots, still able to reload with a new singer and go out there and do it. Alice in Chains able to reload with a new singer and be able to keep this music alive. What does that say about that era in the early 90s, that this is still, there's such an appetite for it?
Well, I think it has everything to do with the music that was produced. I don't think that bands today kind of understand the sincerity of what they're writing about, simply because everybody's everything's just so accessible and instantaneous. So there's no real time to kind of think about music or play music the way that we were doing in Seattle way back when. I think the Nirvana guys, Soundgarden guys, Alice in Chains, Malfunction, Mother Love Bone. These were guys that were sitting in their basements of their houses playing these instruments and writing these songs for years and years and years before they ever considered putting something out. So there's a sincerity and an honesty in the music that was created in the late 80s, early 90s, not just from Seattle, but from San Diego and Chicago and Athens, Georgia, and a lot of these great markets where some of these great bands came out of, even like Idaho, bands like Built to Spill and whatnot. There was some real time taken in crafting these songs, and the importance of what the lyric is, and the importance of that basic guitar part, drum part, whatever. It all seemed very it was all so important to the song itself, and now it just seems like there's so much cookie cutter music that's out, and every single one of these pop stars sounds the same, and all the songs are written by the same pop stars, and guys like Pharrell, who I really respect and love and think he's incredibly talented. He's written how many number ones for how many artists?
Yeah.
It's like the bands can't do it anymore, and that's kind of sad.
That is very true, and that just shows how genuine a band like Candlebox has been for so long, and continued success, of course. 29 years, congratulations, Kevin. Again, go to candlebox.com to get all the information on the tour dates, and candleboxrocks.com, and you can pre-order the album right now. Please do that. This is a great way to get in touch with the band, and so many cool things you can do. Kevin, cannot thank you enough for doing this with us today, man. Continue success, and we'll see you here in Kansas City in March, my friend.
Thanks, dude. It's a real pleasure.
You bet. Thanks a lot, Kevin. Appreciate it.
There it is, our interview with Kevin Martin. Again, I was deathly ill, not with coronavirus, thank God, whenever I recorded that. I believe I did wind up getting diagnosed with influenza B, thanks to the Minute Clinic, and so put me out of action for a few days. But you know what? It's March. The weather's already changing. March Madness is coming up. The NCAA tournament's going to be coming up. The excitement is in the air. That means that so many concerts are already announced, and so many more are starting to become announced because people are in the mood for this. They're in the mood for live music. They're ready for winter to be over. They're ready to launch into the spring and summer months, and we are there. We're right there with you. We got your back all spring and summer long right here on the Music Mania podcast as the interviews continue to pile up. We've got some great stuff coming up the next few weeks and on into the summer, guys. Thanks so much for joining us. Back next week once again here on the Music Mania podcast.